The following is a paid program. The content is provided by the advertiser. WSTU, its staff, management, and owners are not responsible for the content. Advisory services offered through Blackridge Asset Management, a registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Blackridge Asset Management is a separate and independent entity from Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Member, FINRA, SIPC. And now, today with Denny, here's Denny Artachi.
Good morning. I'm really excited here. I'm happy to have the listeners, and I'm here with a great Mets fan, Evan, my producer, which I already feel at home.
Good.
In my first radio show, so I appreciate that.
Well, welcome in the hot seat. Glad to have you here, man, my friend.
Well, what hot seat? I mean, you guys, you've been having fun. For how long is your morning show from 6 to 9?
We start at 6 o'clock in the morning. We go all the way till 9 a.m. And we just, get silly and entertain people. That's what we do.
I mean, and how long have you been doing that show?
I just had my 1-year anniversary yesterday.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you're famous. You're doing all these things.
Yeah.
And really a little bit, because fans are probably, well, who the heck is Denny Artachi?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that I am local. I'm originally from New York. You imagine that, in South Florida?
Hey, now.
But I am a Martin County graduate. God, I was thinking about this. 40 years ago, I graduated. That makes me how old are you, Evan?
I'm 60.
Oh, okay. So I feel, I'm 57. I'll be 58 going on 70.
All right.
So I did graduate from Martin County High School.
Did you say 58 going on 70?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Especially when you get up and it's cold or something.
Okay.
But the show basically is about common sense issues. I'm a financial planner, and that's what I do. But that's not all I do. Locally, I've been playing music for many years. As a matter of fact, back in the early 90s, I left the Stewart area and went to L.A. to be a star, as they say. I got lucky, and I was the lead guitar player for Iron Butterfly, the iconic band, where their big hit was In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
Right.
My best friend was Joe Shermy from Three Dog Night, the bass player, and him, Floyd and I, the drummer, we would record at American studios, travel around. I'm thinking, wow, what a life. But, there was living the dream can be painful.
I agree with you.
I mean, here I was playing in these iconic bands, but basically broke. So what happened is Joe Sherman, my best friend, he's got all these platinum records on. He's sleeping on my couch, and we're eating Jack in a Box cheeseburgers. Right. So I said, wow, is this the dream or is this a nightmare? Long story short, I like that movie Boiler Room. This guy pulls up in a Ferrari at the Guitar Center. I met him, and I decided to do something else with my life because I always knew I could play music. But if platinum recording artists were broke, chances are I might join them. And I never wanted to have that in my life. In a sustainable lifestyle. But, I've been doing since 94 financial planning. I'm a true independent. I love what I do, but the business is challenging because a lot of people, there's a lot of disinformation. There's a lot of unexpected expectations out there. So I want to have the show broken up in different parts, talk about financial, health, world news. I think you and I discussed we have to talk somewhat about politics, but we definitely do not want to have a right versus left show.
Yeah, I would agree with you because I'm not putting any boxing gloves on.
Right. So please do call in. I want this to be an interactive show, but if you're still angry at your parents or you're not over your childhood, maybe you shouldn't call in for rhetorical political things.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter is, even though I'm let's get it out. I'm a Republican. I'm a registered conservative Republican, but I'm more of a moderate because I think both sides have taken it to where they don't need to take it. And I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I love my country.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
Pleasure.
My father was in for 47 as a colonel, and my daughter was in for 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're a military family.
Yeah, I mean, and we do that because we love our country.
Of course.
And the people in it, not because we love politicians.
Right.
So I really wish that more people would have more conversations from the moderate side. Hey, tell me why you think of what you believe, and let me tell you how I believe, and let's come to some self-understanding that we can disagree, but we still all love our country. We all respect each other, and that's really how the world should work.
Right.
So First topic, let's talk about finances, because again, I'm truly independent. I have 5 licenses, a 766, 3 insurance. A lot of what I do is really educate clients. And the funny thing about it is most of my clients have become my clients immediately. And that's because that 15-minute conversation typically turns into a 2.5-hour conversation. And we kind of agree on a lot of things. But lately I've been asked, hey, what's going on? What do you think about the market? Now, here's one truth that you should always remember. Nobody with great certainty can predict what the heck the market's doing. I mean, think about this. We've had a year with interest rates at zero, contested elections, a pandemic that hit in March, April that we're still recovering from. And yet the market has still been going up. I mean, what happened in March, April, I don't consider a correction. It was a blip and a panic. So when do we get back to normal? That's a good question. We don't know. It really depends on how the vaccinations go. And of course, right now they're talking about another stimulus package with the Biden administration. But for most people, I always say, if you're going to be in the market, your best friend is time, because in any given rolling 10-year period, we're just about guaranteed 1 or 2 bear markets or, corrections, so to speak. So you have to be prepared for it. So how would I say, oh, yes, before I forget, please call in. The phone number here is 772-220-9788. I already love my producer. He's keeping me in check already. See, he's done this once or twice. So please call in. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I did put a Gmail account for emails, today with Denny at gmail.com. I have a YouTube channel. I want to post the shows that come here. And really, I'd like listeners to be engaged. This is about your education, your entertainment, perhaps, and let's have fun at the same time. But back to the markets, a lot has to happen on whether the vaccine gets rolled out, and we have to get this economy going back. And when you look at it, there's a lot of things that could happen. And the simple fact is, the S&P still earned over 16% last year, in spite of all the things that were happening. So if you're in the market, it may be a good time to rebalance or shift some of your funds. And that really depends on your horizon. If you're 65 and older and you're counting on the money to pay your bills or your retirement, I certainly would be a lot more careful with what could happen. I always ask my clients simple questions like, what is a more acceptable outcome? That you keep doing what you're doing and the market goes down 30% and you wait a few years to come back, or you maybe go on the sidelines a little bit and you miss out on the market peaking, but you still made something in your money. I really try and go out of my way to guide my clients on what their comfort level is, because the market now is so different from when I first started. It is so fast. And when corrections happen, by the time we realize it, you usually can't do anything about it. So typically, before the corrections happen, you should at least consider rebalancing and having a diversified portfolio. What I mean by that is maybe having different sectors in your portfolio. I don't think, because of rates being where they are, that bonds and yields in that market are really that much attractive. So, Evan, do you invest in a market? I mean,
I do not invest. My daughter has a portfolio down in West Palm, and my son, who lives in Miami, he has a portfolio, and my oldest son is actually a banker. He's a pretty high up manager with a banking organization.
Well, maybe you can ask them for their advice, right?
No, but I don't invest. I invested once or twice. But that was really about it. I'm afraid to, because I don't want to, I guess, take that gamble and take that risk. That's just me personally. Everybody's different, of course.
You're right, because there's risk in everything. Yes. I mean, there are some vehicles where people can pretty much make 2 or 3% on their money with not much risk.
Right.
But then, if you do that for 10, 15, 20 years with the way inflation is, that's not exactly the most efficient way to go. And, the things like the Fed funds rate was between 0 and 25%. I mean, that's pretty low. COVID has definitely dug a deep hole for most of us. Inflation so far is not technically out of control. But when I go to Publix, I have a different opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
And that to me is inflation.
Yeah.
When I'm paying more for milk, well, actually, I don't even drink milk. But when you're paying more for milk than gas, there's something different. Or when that loaf of bread is now $4 when it used to be, 90 cents.
Yeah.
I would say that's inflation. And of course, look at real estate. The cost of everything keeps doing what? Going up, going up, and going up. So we have to watch the market. If you're in the market, you should really think about having a discussion with someone like me. I've never sat down with someone and they said, wow, that was a big waste of time. You're like, you don't even know what you're doing. We cover a lot of different ways. And look, even my clients talk to other people. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I really pride myself in saying, if you're not broke, I'm certainly not going to fix you. But there's a lot of times in the conversations that we can uncover things that they just didn't think about. There's a good reason for that. You can't be the jack of all trades. I have great partners. I'm part of the Financial Guys Network, which is based out of Buffalo, and I'm in Peak Brokerage Services. What I love about is we're really independent. We don't have proprietary products. So when I look for things for clients, and I have several wholesalers that I use, it's the client's best interest. It's not what the hottest thing is. So, and we have different partners. I partner up with tax professionals, attorneys. On the show later on, hoping one of the partners has a PNC business that is independent. And hopefully, I know he has saved clients both in the auto and homeowners insurance. And he's supposed to call in around 9:30, and he can talk about what he does. I am grateful for my sponsors. One of them is TMI Tax Associates, and they've been helping not just individuals, but business owners, payroll. And I don't know if Tony will have a chance to call in, but there are other tax professionals that I use as well. But TMI, I know Tony for over 20 years. He does a great job with it. I also am happy that Mulligan's George has decided to be a sponsor on the show. George is just an amazing guy. He's, I think George is about 59. He has a 35-year-old girlfriend. Think about that for a second, okay? And
I'm there.
You're there?
I'm there. I'm 60. My wife is 45.
Is that right?
Right there.
Well, now I know why you have your own talk show.
There you go.
What's the key?
It's just, she was 21 and I was 36, raising 3 kids as a single dad when I met my wife.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, okay.
It's only a number.
All right. Well, I know that. You know that. But most everyone else does not know that.
True.
Now, I have a good lady. She's not half my age and stuff. And she puts up with me, and I'm appreciative of her. Because us men, sometimes we're, how shall I say, difficult?
Yeah, I would agree.
Steadfast?
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So especially when I'm an entertainer, I'm a planner, I'm out there, I'm a public speaker. In the last, I would say 10, 12 years, I've been mentoring students at schools. And I like doing that. I like paying it forward. I have a book on Amazon. I really try and live my life from a moderate, common sense perspective. Because let's face it, at any given time, you flip the news or you see something, it's easy to get agitated and upset about everything. But what good is that going to do? Not much. So, I believe that's a good way to live. So back to George with Mulligan's. I mean, this is a guy that works so many hours, and I think they've got like 6, 7 locations now. When restaurants are dying, he's increasing and opening up other locations. And George is one of those guys that he works tirelessly. It's hard to get him and pin him down, but he loves what he does. Mulligan's has certainly been part of the community for many years. So I'm grateful to partner up with him. I'm grateful with TMI and Associates, and also Mike Sparazzo, who I'm expecting to call, part of the Financial Guys Network. So back to the market. when people ask, what do I think the market's going to do? I say, quite frankly, I don't know, but I will tell you that it only seems natural that we're going to see some corrections and dips. Common sense dictates that nothing goes straight up. We had an amazing recovery last year. The market came back with, the biggest pandemic from 1918. A lot of other factors is unemployment. I think last month was about 1 million people filed for unemployment, which that's a lot. Now, it's below the 7 million peak of what happened during the height of the pandemic. But the simple fact is, until businesses get going again and people start working again, there's a lot of uncertainty. Now, here's another thing, too, because technically, why is the market where it is? Why aren't we, down and corrected? I think a lot of it has to do because rates are so low. And people have to invest in something. So, equity valuations, even though they may be high and overvalued, you can still probably get a 5, 6, 7, 10% return on equities going into 2021. But a correction could happen. Let's not kid each other. There's a lot of things going on. We have a new administration, but so far it has actually done better than I've anticipated. So how do we deal with it? We diversify, we look at it, and time is your best friend. And I think that sort of logic, dictates more than anything. So remember, if you'd like to call in, we can talk about what I'm talking about or whatever's on your mind. And the number here is 772-220-9788. Are we queued up for maybe our first break? Are we off?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Tell them you're going to go to break.
How long is the break for?
It's about a minute break.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So just tell the listening audience we're still live. So tell them you're going to take a break.
Oh, I'm going to take a break.
And we'll be back right after this.
You see this guy, Evan, if you weren't here, I don't know if I would be here.
That's all right.
Thank you. We're going to take a break. All right, we are back, and I think we have Mr. Mike Sparazza on the other line. Mike, are you there?
I am here.
Awesome. Hey, first things first, we're thinking we got it tough because it's 57 degrees here in Florida. So you're in Buffalo. Tell me, how warm is it there right now?
Well, warm's not a good adjective, I don't think, but it's something. I was driving in this morning. It was early, but I was driving in about 27 degrees this morning. We had a heat wave to 32 probably right now.
You hear us both laughing. I'm wearing a forget that, Jack. You know,
Heat wave.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, this native New Yorker enjoys the warm weather. Sorry. But hey, enough about that. And of course, I'm sure you're going to be watching TV this weekend, right? I'm going to say that on Saturday around 8:00, you'll be watching TV somehow, right?
I will be watching the biggest game in Buffalo since like 1995 this weekend. So that's a big one.
You know, you guys are amazing fans up there. I mean, really, truly. I remember the years, you know, with Kelly and everything, but even before then. But you got to be really proud of how Buffalo has been doing. I mean, aren't you? I mean,
yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'll tell you, it's been you know a very interesting and at times odd year, not just for sports but for everything. But this has definitely been something that's brought everybody together, and it's a lot of fun to watch them. And you know, they seem like they're a very likable team. It seems like people outside of Buffalo love what they're doing this year too, and love watching them play. So that's always fun too.
I saw them, I think it was maybe a couple years ago. I saw them play the Dolphins, and the Dolphins actually won that game. But I saw your quarterback, Josh Allen, run for like 100 yards. And he threw a ball like a rope 50 yards down. And I'm like, who is this guy? They lost, but they should have won. Now, interestingly, you know, they both have some winning streaks. I think the Ravens have won 6 in a row. I mean, Buffalo has had a good winning streak as well. So, you know, it's going to be, I think a lot will, and you know, both defenses are ready to just wreak havoc on both of them. So maybe whoever gets the better running game will, I'm certainly rooting for the Bills, as you know. But it's going to be tough. I mean, the Ravens are a tough team. I mean,
it'll be very interesting. There's possibility of some lake effect snow too. So who knows what we'll see that night, but
great.
But yeah, it'll be fun. I mean, I think it's going to be a good game. You got two good teams and two teams that obviously have a lot to play in the AFC Championship game. So it'll be a stressful evening for us, I'm sure, but it'll be fun.
So I touched upon it, how happy I mean, I've been with Peak, it's like 4 years, and the financial guys. And, you know, you have a machine in Buffalo, which we're obviously expanded in Florida as well. And your specialty is both in the auto and the homeowners. Tell our listeners, you know, what makes you different? Because a lot of people go with the major. I mean, should I say their names? We know who they are, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have either better or less expensive coverage. So talk to them about what makes you different and, you know, how you can help them.
Yeah, I think there's two ways to do it on my side of the business, right? You either go what's called a captive agency route where you represent one company, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have the other route, which is what we do, which makes us a little more appealing to most. We're what's called, you know, an insurance agency broker, right? So we go out and shop as many companies as we can to find you the best rate. So we don't just put you where we need to put you. We put you where it best fits you. So that could sometimes be based on price. That could sometimes be based on what coverages you need. So we do what we say in Buffalo is, you know, give us 14 minutes and we'll shop over 25 companies and we truly find you the best rate. And that's what makes us a little bit different compared to the big name companies out there that you see.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the major ones, they try and say, well, if you bundle with us, we'll save you money. And I know that's maybe good in theory, but if you're just interested in auto or homeowners, that may not be the least expensive way. And trust me, I know the least expensive is not always the best way to go. Personally, I have with Progressive, and let me tell you, 2 months ago, someone rear-ended. It was a big 10-car pileup, and I don't have the cheapest, but I have the stackable uninsured motorist. And good thing I did, because guess what? The person who whacked into me did not have insurance. So a lot of times, not that the cheapest is not the best way to go, but I think it's great that you can shop at different carriers and come back with, you know, the top three, so to speak. So,
and I'll always say this too, Denny. We do use some big name companies that, you know, people hear of because those companies allow that type of relationship. Mm-hmm. So it's not like we are just using these small companies you never heard of before. And I want to touch on something you said because it's interesting about the bundling thing, especially down in Florida. You can't always bundle everything with one company because a lot of carriers down there don't work in home insurance. They only do auto due to losses down there. So the bundling thing does work for some people. It doesn't for others. I'm here to try and find the best rate at the best price. And if that means putting an auto somewhere and a home somewhere else, or trying to put them together, we do that. Because of course everybody, I'm a consumer of insurance too. We don't want to pay, more than we should.
That's right.
But we have to make sure we protect ourselves.
Yeah. And you want good coverage. Cause again, think about if I didn't have what I had, I would have been stuck for everything. And it amazes me that people are still driving around without insurance, but it happens. And this person had nothing. So it wasn't like I could be litigious with them. So with the homeowners, I would imagine that's also a very challenging market, because especially Florida, right? I mean, would you say that there are more claims in Florida than Buffalo?
So, I don't know the number of how many claims of each place. I mean, what you guys have down there with, hurricanes and lawsuits is kind of what we have up here with, blizzards and stuff like that. Right. So, I'll tell you, we have a lot of claims in the wintertime up here because people are sliding on ice and whatnot. So each place has their, I'll call it issues, but, I'll tell you this, that I write a ton of, homes in Buffalo. Generally, I do bundle them together with the auto, because in Buffalo, 90% of the companies I use write both auto and home. Down there, we do a lot of different, different insurance companies for autos, different for homes, because of just the market down there. It is definitely a much different market than Buffalo, New York, or all over New York State. I'll tell you that much.
So what is the phone number that they can call in? What is the phone number? You have an 888 number, right?
We actually, it's an 833. So right now it's 833 Fin Guys. So 833 Fin Guys. I'm going to get you the numbers for that, because I always forget them. Hold on a second. But yeah, that's how you can get us. You can also, Denny, go on our website.
Okay.
We have a website. It's www.tfghomeandauto.com. So that's again, www.tfg, like the financial guys, homeandauto.com.
Okay.
And that phone number is 833-346-4897.
I'd love to have Mike or Glenn as a guest, but they're so busy. My God, they have a radio show that's going on like 30 years up there. And, they're funny guys, definitely not big Cuomo fans. What's happening in New York is just crazy. That's why they're coming to Florida. Pay less money, better weather, et cetera, et cetera. But definitely, if you're interested, 833 Fin Guys. Mike's a pretty straight shooter, and let's see if he can. I know he can save you money, and that's kind of what people want to do in that business alone. So, any parting shots, predictions, maybe about the game? Do you think the Bills are going to take it?
I was going to say I won't call any predictions because I don't want to jinx us, but I will say go Bills, and hopefully it's a good weekend for us up here.
You better stay warm, buddy. 27 degrees is not what I call fun in the morning. So, Mike Speraza, ladies and gentlemen, part of the Financial Guys Network. So glad to be partnered up with him. Mike, I will be in touch, buddy, and stay warm.
Sounds good. We'll talk soon. Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care. We have to talk about this pandemic thing for a little bit. I mean, a lot is going on. Obviously, we keep having record cases, and that it's terrible. I think we had about 4,100 cases as a nation, deaths yesterday, 236,000 cases. When you look at Florida, we were spiking up for a while, but we kind of settled in a little bit. I don't call 166 deaths settling in, because one life is too much for me, but we reported 14,000 cases yesterday as of today. Now, the thing about the COVID, and I hate to say this, look, there's no advantage to live in fear, okay? But what I see happening with all these restaurants being closed, I don't think it's exactly fair, because statistically, I think 1.5% has been traced to, getting the virus from a restaurant. Does that mean that you close all the restaurants and put so many people out of work? No. But at the same time, we have to be careful. We have to be smart. You have to wash, wear the mask. There are still too many people that are not taking this seriously. And folks, it is very serious. We don't know where it's going to go. Hopefully, we're close to a peak and start settling down. We're so grateful that the vaccines are there. but be smart out there. Don't assume that you can't get it and it's not serious. I personally know people who have passed. I also know, unfortunately, I found out people who had it that never said anything and carried on like it was no big deal. So yeah, we have to always be smart. I have an 80-year-old mother. I love her to death. Every time I see her, I wear a mask. I stay away. It's very challenging because I play music. My next show in Stewart will be February 19th at Terra Firmata. I'm going to be doing a Santana tribute. I'm so excited about the show because I love the music. Carlos has been an influence me for a long time. But a lot of these clubs, people are not really social distancing, and it's kind of scary. I mean, it's kind of like rolling the dice, and we have to be careful. We have to be careful. Statistically, it's still here. I mean, Evan, what do you think? I mean, don't you think why do you think they're just being lackadaisical about it?
Well, I have an entertainment company also. So we provide, DJs for weddings.
Yeah.
And I see it also at the weddings. Nobody's wearing a mask.
Nothing. That's
Nothing.
right.
Zero zip zilch.
Right.
And I have created what's called a COVID barrier around me so nobody can get near me.
Mm-hmm.
I purchase stanchions with the rope that comes out, and I made a barrier so nobody can come near me. And I have a number they can call if they want to make a request or something. They just text the number. I have no interaction with anybody now going forward.
Yeah, and the problem is, on social media especially, they've politicized this.
Yeah.
What the heck does politics have to do with this?
No.
It's almost like, oh, you want to live in fear and cover you. It's not. Look, I wear a mask because the experts tell me it helps. Do I like wearing a mask? No.
Yeah.
But anything I can do to just not only protect myself, but somebody, people around me, it's very important.
It's a twofold thing. You're doing it for two reasons. You're protecting yourself and you're respecting the other person that you're around. It's plain and simple. Just like you go into the grocery store. I see people that don't want to wear a mask, and I want to stay as far back away from that person as I can.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because that's exactly right. Do you respect others? And so, one of the themes of this show is common sense, respect. Listen, we have a great country. Are we a perfect country? Absolutely not. Our founding fathers are not perfect, but I still believe in the old treat your neighbors how like you would like to be treated.
Exactly.
And we need to tone back the rhetoric. I mean, right versus left. If you're extremely right, I think you're wrong. If you're extremely left, I think you're wrong. But if we talk to each other and if we deal with this virus from a common sense perspective, hey, let me keep my distance. Let me wear my mask. Let me wash as much as I can. Let's not, because look, we don't know. I heard rumors that Biden is considering a lockdown when he gets in.
I heard that also.
Can you imagine how popular that's going to be? I mean, I remember, and here's the crazy part. Back in March, April is when I was the most afraid of this.
Mm-hmm.
And our numbers now are astronomical compared to where they were in March and April. So what's happened is, and I get it, we've got COVID fatigue. We're tired of dealing with it. But as we lose people, I know people who have died from this personally. It's no longer, well, do you know anyone who's had it?
Well, here's the thing. Yes, I do. My son, he's currently living in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the fortunate ones not to have hardly any symptoms. He had symptoms for 2 days, headache and a little bit of fatigue, and that's it. Nothing else. And then after 2 days went by, it's like nothing is wrong.
So he tested himself after he started having symptoms?
Yeah, he went and got a test after he started getting symptoms.
Okay.
And he tested positive, quarantined. Yesterday was day number 8. So, of course, being the infinite kid that he is, he thinks that after 8 days, you're going to test, negative. So he goes and gets a test, and he's still positive. So I'm like, okay, well, I told you so. You got to wait at least 10 days, 12 days before you go get tested again. And then eventually you'll get the negative test. There's 2 tests. You got the PCR test, and then you have the other test, the rapid test. The PCR test is the most reputable, reliable test on the market today.
Now, is that the one that shows that you've had antibodies with?
No,
it,
that's an antibody test.
Okay.
That's a whole nother test.
Okay.
That's a whole nother test.
Because I've done 4 altogether.
Yeah, the PCR is where they go way up your nose.
Oh, yeah, I've had that thrill. It was so awesome.
Yeah. My son just had that done 2 days ago because he was sick. Took him to the pediatrician. Doctor said, go get him tested just to be on the safe side. His test came back 24 hours later. He was negative, thank God. But they go up the nose, they tickle your brain.
Yeah.
And then you get your results 24, 48 hours later. That's the PCR test. Most reliable test out there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've had that. And then I did the first one, the blood one for the antibodies. And you don't know what to believe. So, and social media, I mean, I have a good friend. I was hoping he would call into the show, but he's not. The rhetoric on social media is crazy.
Yeah.
I originally came up with Facebook to promote my musical shows and things like that. And it's gotten so political that I don't know what to make of it. John Maxwell, one of my favorite authors.
Oh, I know him.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yes.
I've met him when I used to go to Christ Fellowship on
he
North
was just at our church at Christ Fellowship. We go to the one in Port St. Lucie.
Okay, so he goes there too.
Well, he speaks at the Gardens campus.
Awesome.
Where Todd Mullins and Julie are.
Yes.
That's their main campus.
That's right.
And he speaks there, and then they bring him in via satellite to our campus on the big screen.
I probably have half a dozen of his books.
You see that saying right there?
Yeah.
That's on the wall? That came from John Maxwell.
What does it say? I can't read it because
if you have good values on the inside, you won't look for validation on the outside. That came from him 2 weeks ago. And that's how I close every show.
Yeah. The other thing is, in life, we've all had bad things happen to us.
Yeah.
Life is not easy. Whoever said life is easy,
right,
they were lying. But it's how we deal with things. And a lot of times, our perceptions maybe not what's really happening is just what we think. And one of his quotes I like is he says, John Maxwell, we over-exaggerate yesterday. We overestimate tomorrow. And we underestimate today. When now is all that you've got.
Yeah.
Now, look, I'm not saying that life is easy, but it can be simple. You have to be grateful, and you have to be grateful about a lot of things. If you're alive and healthy, your family's good, you should be grateful every day because that can change in a nanosecond.
Right.
We're seeing so much turmoil, not just in our country, but globally. And I think a lot of it is people are just not happy. Look, if you lost your business or your way to make a living, I think you might be a little bit upset for a while.
Yeah,
it might be tough for you to wake up and sing Kumbaya with everybody.
Yeah, agreed.
However, if you make it a point to maybe get out a pen and paper, start writing what your issues are and how you can solve them and come up with a positive way to overcome it, that's how our country's been built. Because think about what we've gone through. We had the pandemic in 1918. We had World War I. We had the Great Depression, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, civil rights. I mean, I remember I thought the 60s were magical. And this is to perspective, because right now we think we're living in the worst of times. Oh, I've never seen it. That's not true. I remember as a young child how turbulent the 60s were. I was living in Brooklyn when they assassinated one of my heroes, Dr. Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
They were rioting in the streets, burning things. And the 60s, even though musically and so many other beautiful things that were happening, we had the civil rights thing that we had to deal with. We had the war. We can get through this, America. We are such an amazing country because of the people who live here and the people who decide, no matter what happens, I'm going to make the best of it. And I'm going to treat someone else like I'd like to be treated. I think we're ready for another break. We're going to take one, and we'll be back soon. And we are back, and my astute producer, thank God, reminds me to tell you the call-in number here, which is 772-220-9788 or WSTU. Hopefully, we'll get some calls. Either we only have maybe 5 to 7 minutes left in today's show, and we hope that you have enjoyed the show. I want to also let you know that you can find me, or you can email Today with Denny, that's the name of the show, at Gmail. Or I have a YouTube channel, which I will broadcast the videos. But if you'd like a personal consultation with me, that number is 561-305-8226. That number again, 561-305-8226. I have an office in Jupiter. I am a financial planner by trade, but certainly that's not what I do. As I say, I'm going to do the show at Terra Firmata. I just played Mulligan's last weekend, and George has fixed that, where what used to be a parking lot is now a stage setup, which is pretty cool. I'm going to be there again on the 30th with my little trio. So I'm looking forward to that. And I want to remind everybody that I know that times are tough right now, but we owe it to ourselves as fellow Americans to make the best of it, to reach out to each other and help each other get through these rough times, because they are unprecedented in my lifetime, but nothing that we can't get over. Now, I'm a big football fan, so I want to talk briefly about the games, because I try not to watch too much TV, but you will catch me watching the shows. We talked about the Bills and the Ravens that'll be playing. That should be an excellent, exciting game. Now, another game that'll be interesting of the Packers on Saturday with Aaron Rodgers and the Rams that they'll be playing. The reason why this is going to be great, both defenses are amazing. I mean, they really are. So let's see. I think this is going to be the year that maybe Rodgers does go back to the NFC Championship game. I mean, it has to go through Green Bay, and Green Bay's defense itself has allowed maybe 25 points or less. So these two defenses are going to be really hard to go against, but we're talking with Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur, the coaches. They know each other. I'm expecting the Packers to take this. Now, on the other note, we're looking at the Cleveland Browns. I mean, are you a football fan? Do you watch
I am. I do. I watch football, and baseball is my first love, as you know.
Oh, yes. We Definitely. Have to – next show, we got to talk more about baseball. But can you believe the Browns, what they did to the Steelers? Okay. I mean, that came out of left field. Unfortunately, they're going into a Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not saying they can't win. Of course, anybody can win. But, man – Patrick Mahomes, does it get much better than that guy?
Unbelievable.
And Andy Reid is just such a genius coach. I'm expecting a great game, but I do expect the Chiefs to take it. Now, here's a classic matchup, of course, Tampa Bay and New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Brady versus the guy, the guy who's barely 6 feet tall,
I know,
who plays like he's 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to go bet against Drew Brees, but man, Tom Brady is still the GOAT, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for my Giants, he'd have 8 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So Tampa, for a while they weren't looking as great, but I think they're running on all pistons now. Should be a great, tight game. I'm going to go with the GOAT. I think he's going to, I would like to see Drew Brees do it, because how many more seasons does he have? It's probably the last one. But I think the GOAT and the Bears defense is going to take it. And it should be a great, great weekend of football. No matter who wins, none of them pay my bills, so I don't get too crazy.
There you go.
So let's hope it's a good weekend of football. As far as news goes, I have to watch it because it affects finances. So when we speak politics and things like that, it's more from how's it going to affect the stock market and our economy? I try not to watch too much of any one particular show. I do watch several ones, and what's interesting about that is they all have their own narratives, but somewhere in the middle we can decipher the truth. So and so said this, so and so. Oh, right in the middle is I think what's actually happening. Now, why am I mentioning this? Because remember, a lot of what we see and read, we hope that it's true. But if you use some common sense, it just doesn't make sense. So that's why it's great to talk to one another. I learned all the time when I share ideas. And when I watch, either Fox or CNN, there's about 4 or 5 networks I see. I see their perspective, and you know what's so funny? They're never talking about the same subject.
Wow. That's crazy.
Well, because one of them has a different narrative than the other, and it's one side versus this side.
Okay.
And there's too much of that. I think more people should use common sense, be happy and grateful for all that we have. What do we got left there, Evan? Have I hit the 5-minute mark yet? I'm still good.
You haven't seen no fingers go up for me yet, but they're going up right now.
I've seen quite a few fingers in my lifetime.
There you go.
So there's the 5?
There's the 5.
Okay. So if you're out and about, try and support live music as much as you can, because my goodness, if all restaurants and local businesses close, that's really not going to be good for our country. I mean, it really isn't. But be safe and use common sense. Protect yourself. Do the social distancing. I feel so bad for so many of my friends that music is what they do for a living. So remember, like I asked you before, would you be in a great mood if what you did for a living was suddenly taken away from you? And I'm hoping that the new administration addresses some of these things from a common sense. I don't believe mandated lockdowns is the answer, so to speak. It may happen. I mean, I know our Governor DeSantis has gotten a lot of flack from it because he never really shut down Florida. Mm-hmm. And I think he tried to – I think he was really – he's not trying to be frivolous, or it's not that he doesn't care, but he's looking at the overall picture. And if you're afraid to go out and then don't go to restaurants. It's kind of like there's certain music that I don't like that I when it comes on, I turn the channel. It's not a big deal. But a lot of people's lives and livelihood are at risk because of this virus. And I believe we will get through this. I believe better days are ahead of us. I believe through the grace of God that we're going to be living in prosperity once again. It may be 6 months. It may be a year. Remember, like I said about the market and investing, it just makes sense that we're going to have some corrections. And when they happen, not if you have favorite companies you like to invest in, that might be a good time to buy more of it. But again, everything, talk to a professional. Find out what your risk tolerance is. Find out how much time you have dedicated to the market. And there are other non-correlated investments that you can put your money in that may yield you 5 or 6% that behave differently than what the equities market do. My number again is 561-305-8226. And I'd be happy to just have a discussion. Doesn't cost you anything. We'll uncover a lot of things. And if you're not broke, I'm definitely not going to fix you. And locally, I hope to catch, a lot of my clients get a kick out of my shows. I typically do classic rock, blues, but once in a while, thanks to my late dad, I'll sing Sinatra jazz. And that's just a different side and a different form of music that I love. It's classic and timeless. So hopefully we'll catch you locally. I think Stewart is an amazing local area. But the show goes up to what? Sebastian, South Palm Beach? What is the
somewhere in that area? It goes from Jupiter all the way north of Fort Pierce, Vero Beach area. It depends. The signal radiates, so it just depends on weather and
like
things
life.
like that. Yeah, exactly, just like life.
Well, my first shot, I survived my first day in radio. Hopefully you got something out of it. Hopefully, again, the whole purpose of this is to educate, entertain, share some common sense ideas. Because look, folks, we're all in this together. We have more in common than we have our differences. So that's why don't let the media or other things make you forget that we have more in common. We're an amazing country, and people are hurting right now. People are looking for hope, answers, and stability. And I think that's a sustainable way to live. And it's not just us, the whole world. I mean, your friend who had you from Israel, man, talk about having it tough, huh?
Yeah.
They don't play around over there, do they?
No, they do not. They're longtime 30-year friends of mine.
Yeah. And so, living in the free society we have, it's going to have its quirks because people are saying, no, you're not going to tell me how to live and do what I want to.
Yeah.
Where in other countries, they don't really have that luxury, do they?
No, not at all.
So let's hope we don't get the lockdown. Let's hope that we get through this. I will see you next week.
You still have time.
I still.
You're still-
do I have 2 minutes?
You still have
Should
time.
I start singing a song?
you're
I don't
good.
know.
You're coming up on the 2-minute mark.
Well,
Remember, I told you when you hear the music, that means you have 1 minute.
when
left.
you start giving me the finger, that's when I need to leave. Yes.
When I give you the music, you have literally 1 minute, which is coming up here in moments.
This guy right here, I think I'm going to make it. But Evan, if you're not available, I think I'll
always be here.
You will
be here. Yeah.
So listen, remember when the Mets games start, because we're such Mets fans.
Yeah.
I want to go listen to you, and I want to
All
get
right.
some tickets.
No problem. Well, as soon as I find out if they're going to have fans in the stadium,
That's right.
then I will let you know.
Yeah, because I live close to the Roger Dean Stadium.
That's down in Jupiter.
Yes, 'cause
I'm
I
in
live in
Port St.
Jupiter.
Lucie.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, let me know. Thank
right.
you so much.
All right.
Thank you, my listeners. God bless you all. Make it a great day, and we'll see you next week.
The preceding was a paid program. The content is provided by the advertiser. WSTU, its staff, management, and owners are not responsible for the content. Advisory services offered through Blackridge Asset Management, a registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Blackridge Asset Management is a separate and independent entity from Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Member, FINRA, SIPC.